that a hero lies in you.
And so there at the end, you can kind of hear a pull away where he purposefully breaks and his voice purposefully kind of cracks. And that's definitely not a mistake. That's something that he does with intent while doing that.
Run, run, lost boy, they say to me.
Oh, well, time can heal, but this won't.
She's gonna get big.
Did she just say she's gonna get big? I mean, first of all, what does that even mean? Second of all, thanks he's a she. This will be interesting when she turns around.
If you want to see an uncut version of this video, check out the link in the description.
Let's talk a little bit about his voice. So definitely pre-puberty. His voice does sound more that of a female than a male. And I could see why Kelly Clarkson could potentially make that mistake here. But he has really incredible technique. You can see just the ease with which he's singing. There's one spot where he could have released a little bit more to let my walls come down a little bit higher there. Didn't quite make it to that note. But otherwise, really impeccable performance so far. You can hear a little bit of like an interesting sort of pronunciation of the words that is kind of like that indie sort of vibe to his voice. It definitely gives his voice a very interesting character.
Before you go.
All right, so where is that audience coming from? I mean, like the audience sound. I feel like that's for sure a clap track going on, like a cheering track. I mean, you could see everybody is watching from Zoom or wherever at a distance, but nobody's actually live in the studio. So that's definitely added after the fact. So he definitely has a very smooth, kind of silky voice. His quality is definitely not overly textured. It's very clean, very, very clean. And it's an interesting song choice, especially us coming from listening to it as a Lewis Capaldi song that is like the most textured you can get vocally. So it's a very interesting song choice, but I definitely think that he pulled it off well, adding his own twist to different parts of the song, which is really important to do in these types of performances. Otherwise, people are going to tie you a little bit too closely to the original, and that's definitely not happening here. If you want to get a free lesson from me, click the link down below.
You don't have to be afraid of what you are.
Wow, beautiful. So he's got really amazing control. Those licks and runs, he's doing very well. You could see he chose Gwen Stefani, part of her team. I didn't actually watch The Voice this year, so coming into this totally brand new, but his overall tone is still kind of staying very, I would say, yeah, just very clean, but it's got this extremely sharp cutting element to it. Because it's so clean, cuts through the mix so easily.
When you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong.
Ooh, wow, beautiful falsetto. So those two parts where he lightened up a lot more, those are called falsetto, where he just kind of pulls back on the amount of pressure that he's building out between his vocal cords to allow a little bit more airflow to come through. And that's essentially what's happening there. But he's transitioning so beautifully between his mix and his falsetto without really giving you a clear distinction when he's in what, like, it's not flipping. He does it very, very seamlessly.
That a hero lies in you.
And so there at the end, you can kind of hear a pull away where he purposefully breaks and his voice purposefully kind of cracks. And that's definitely not a mistake. That's something that he does with intent while doing that.
And who knows, dreams are hard to.
Yeah, so that note. Yeah, so that D sharp, he's definitely supporting much better than the first performance. I mean, always on the first performance, you're going to be a little bit nervous, and that's probably what was happening there. So here, he's definitely using a lot more intensity and a lot more of his support properly. So just talk for a second about support. So support is essentially when we use our abdominal muscles to squeeze out the air, pressurize it so that the vocal cords can relax and the neck doesn't have to get involved as much. All right, oh, he's got a little bit of a growl there. Starting to dirty it up a little bit.
And you cast your fears aside. And
So really, really incredible technique. I'm so interested to hear where his voice goes. I mean, he's quite young. So when his voice breaks and he becomes a man, I'm very interested to see how his voice changes and how he deals with that, because navigating that part of a male's life and a vocalist, male vocalist's life is very difficult. You know, it can really be a place where it ruins certain singers, or it can really actually bring a new dynamic level to a singer's voice. So be very interesting to see where he lands when it comes to the opposite side of puberty.
in you.
So one thing you'll really notice on his runs and his ooh vowel, he's very nasal with that. And this is for all of you who think nasality is a bad thing. Listen to how much nasality is going on in that you. He actually like purposefully adds extra nasality to that. You lies in you. It's got like a lot of that very It's like even more nasality than I'm able to create right now. So that's very interesting for you who think that you need to get away from any sort of nasal sound. That's a perfect example of somebody who's singing beautifully, but is using nasality to find that cut. That's what actually creates his voice for him.
About rainbows and
Wow.
what's on the other side.
His soft side of his voice is incredible because he has such a clean, clear voice that like cuts. When he goes soft, that clarity comes through, but with this extra element of a slight texture to his voice. And it sounds so incredible. I really love that.
So we've been told, and some choose to believe it.
That was a hard line. So what he just did was jumping back and forth between his falsetto and his mix. And it sounded seamless. Like there was no point where it kind of broke or was difficult. Like that was Sam Smith level of agility navigating through falsetto to mix.
And look what it's done so far.
He really uses, this is interesting, it's actually, I think, pretty characteristic of gospel music. He uses a bit of a lower larynx on the lower notes and a slightly raised larynx on the higher notes. This is something that's very difficult for beginner singers to do because generally the natural tendency is for the larynx to lower. So when you consciously lower it when you go down in pitch, it kind of exacerbates the issue of lowering the larynx lowering as you go down in pitch. And as you go up in pitch, generally the larynx wants to rise, not because of release, obviously, but because of strain. For him, it's not coming from strain. It's a nice released upper end. And that is, I mean, the fact that it's released allows him to be able to do both of those. So it shows that he's definitely a very, very skilled singer in that he's able to do that and navigate that fine line between those two without teetering to one side and getting strained, or on the other side, washing out on the bottom end.
Stargazing, and what do you think we might see?
Yeah, you could hear it right there on Ma. Dopey right there. See. Much more bright.
Times to ignore it. It's something that
He's also got attitude when he's singing it. He knows he's good and he's got attitude to it. That helps. That really does help. He totally crushed it there. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more videos like this, check out that one right there. You're going to like it.